All right, welcome to our live stream for adult guitar players. Really excited for this one today. If this is your first time following us for this live stream, I put a link in the Smith Music Facebook page chat where you can go on my website and follow this from the beginning. This adult one, unlike the beginning one for kids, this adult one is a little bit all over the place because we have some experienced guitar players here that are working on different things. And I want to thank our volunteers today. We have Braden and Doug here. Justin, I'm not sure what happened to Justin today. He's probably out practicing. That's probably that's about all that boy does. Scott couldn't be with us today, but Doug and Braden are awesome, and this is going to give us lots to work with. And today's topic is how to be a rock star around the campfire. All right, so starting off, I'm going to unmute my guests here. All right, so there we go. I have Braden and Doug. Thank you guys for joining me.
No problem.
No problem, Paul.
Thank you. And last week, we're just going to do a little recap of what we were trying to tackle last week, which was a big one. That was, we got in deep into all that fun stuff. And so I'd asked participants to find 3 songs and figure out what the keys of the songs were. And so I just wanted to follow up with that first. So who wants to go first on that, on following up with that? I didn't see it.
It don't matter. I'll go.
Okay, Braden's all up. Let's rock it out, Braden. What do you got?
Okay. One song we've been learning playing is Don't Matter by Kings of Leon.
Nice.
And it's, well, I mean, it's distorted, but it's. So I think it's D minor.
Yeah, just making sure that I get what you're playing. So you're playing you're playing D, C sharp, F sharp.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the next part is the A, F sharp. So you're thinking,
yes.
What key are you thinking?
Well, I think it's starting in D minor, isn't that? No.
For a second, because I would say like my instinct on that one, and sometimes this is a bit of a creative. I mean, there's rules, and it's more like F sharp minor to me. So it's possible that the D minor works. So play it for me there for a second.
I mean, I'm just going off what I listen to the song and follow on YouTube and all that. So
yeah, so just play. Yeah. So now that was a great one to choose because it breaks the rule of the first chord 95% of the time is the key of the song. It's F sharp minor for sure.
So that's the key. Well, and see, I was wondering that because when you play through it and we play it like me and the guys do, it's the dominant note you hear.
That's right. And actually, that's a good way of putting it, Braden. That's called cadence. It's like the note that always feels like it's there, even when it's not. When you get to sharp, it just feels like it's home. So that's one from Braden. Let's get one from Doug.
I was focusing a little more on the campfire just because it was this week's topic as well. So I did Beer for My Horses.
Nice.
We played around with that over the last year, just trying to find the right key to play it in to match a voice to.
Yep.
And what we played in today, I believe, is the key A, which also then I messed around and tried to move my scales appropriately to another spot on the neck of my guitar to fit in.
Cool. Yeah,
I think I was relatively successful.
So can you play me the chords for it?
Sure, it's pretty simple. It's just A, D, and E.
Beautiful. So then, what scale would you use with that? If we were using our pentatonic, which is a minor, what did you come up with on that?
So I dropped down to started in F sharp. Then I just tried to see how it sounded with when I was playing A. And it seemed to fit in.
And so, yes, you didn't quite play the F sharp pentatonic scale correctly, but if you had, that's all good. If you had, that would work perfectly. And one of the great ways to test it is everybody's got an iPhone. Put your iPhone out, your voice app, record yourself playing the rhythm, and then play the scale over top of it that you think it is, and it's a good double check. Good one. Okay, so actually, we both of you guys got it well. Braden almost, but Braden picked a really tough one with that
Yeah,
D.
Whoa. Now, before we left that first session, you said pick 3 songs, and then your email said campfire songs. So I didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah. Well, and it's my
Okay.
sort of my job to be a little bit unclear and throw you guys off. That's sort of how
Well, you got me. So
do you have another one, Braden? And if you don't, that's fine. That's not going to
campfire song.
doesn't have to be a campfire song. This is about finding the key of songs, any song.
Well, I play the Alice in Chains, Thin Bones.
Nice.
But it's dropped down. I thought it would be in key of D, but I'm thinking it's in A because it's
What's that first chord?
it so
It actually is D minor. It is D minor.
it is. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's good though. That's super cool. Well done. That was kind of your. And Doug, do you have one more for us? And then we'll call her good on this, and we're going to work on becoming rock stars around the campfire.
Yeah, I have one more that I really couldn't figure out, so maybe it's decent to talk about it. And you and I have played in the past, Paul, Operator by Jim Croce. Because it's got almost every chord in on the neck of a guitar. So
I definitely don't remember the chord progression. Do you have it in front of you, or do you know?
that's I played it earlier today, and now I'm trying to find it. We won't spend too much time. I'll see if I can dig it up.
Do you remember the first part of it?
Yeah, so it's G, then B minor, A minor, C, A minor, and that lovely G F chord that I love so much.
Yeah. So then following our basic rule of the first chord 95% of the time will be the key, it actually is with that one.
Okay.
And we'll go more into depth over time as to why that is. And now for that, so we're in the key of G major. What scale would you use if you wanted a solo on top of that?
I'll take a guess at E minor.
All right, I'm going to ask Braden if he agrees. What do you think? What do you think? Are you guessing, Braden? Are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about it.
Take your time.
Wait, what's it in? G?
E major, yeah. Playing an A chord there instead of.
Which was G chord again? Show me quick.
It's this bad.
Okay. I want to say, so tell me.
Yeah, no, it's all good. And that's the thing that I think you really bring value to here, Braden, is there's a bunch of people that, listening to this that have been self-taught that don't have names on things. So
Yeah,
Doug is correct that it would be E minor for that one.
it would be.
If you play a
Okay.
G chord, you remember the G chord that I just showed you? That you know,
Yeah.
the lowest note of the chord contains the name of the chord. So that's a
So
G.
right there. Okay.
And then, so if you go down 3 frets from there, which is open,
Yeah.
that's your E. That's why it's E minor.
So then, if you're saying going that way, seeing this is where I wouldn't know the scale starting open, but would you consider going up to the 12th is going to be your E as well?
That's 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So same thing. Nicely done. Okay, I wanted to do that.
Oh, one quick question, Paul. One quick question. So I was right on E minor, but if you asked me to play that E minor scale, I'd be having technical difficulties.
Yeah. Same.
Pentatonic.
So, yeah. So it wasn't bad when I said it was in the key of A because I probably cheated and said, all right, if pentatonic is in C and starts here, then I can go and because I'm dropping down from C to A. So then, so that was how I found it. But now if I want to drop down to G, I either got to detune or I have to find another string to start on, right?
Yeah.
You can, like Braden said, he went up to his 12th. The 12th fret is also E, right? So that's a totally valid place to play it. So I'll show you what I mean. So we have our E. Let's get a decent camera angle here. This, because the 12th fret E as well, that's going to give you a total, like your pentatonic scale there, just fine. And now to play it open, and this is just something you got to know because it's just part of the hard work of it all. But when we played our pentatonic scale in A, starting on our 6th string, that's how we played it. But now we're starting on an open note. If you look at it, like our first note is 3 frets higher than our first note. Our second note is 3 frets higher. That would mean it'd be open to 3. Does that make sense, Doug?
Open, so E to G.
Yeah. That's our first 2 notes of the pentatonic scale, open. And then the next one is 0, 2 on our 5th string. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you got the pentatonic scale just a little bit mixed up because there's 2. There's one that starts on the 5th string and one that starts on the 6th. The one that starts on the 6th string, you use the same fret number for the beginning of every string. So, for example, if I'm playing an A, the 5th fret is the note, starting note for each string. So in A, we were playing 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. And I moved it back to A so that we're fretted. There,
Oh,
you got it.
right. So it's all open. So all bottom 5 strings are open.
That's actually all 6 strings use an open note. That makes some sense? I muted the wrong.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Right on. Right on. Okay. And this is something that incrementally we'll get going. Our being really important for a lot of people. And so I kind of put together 5 things that I thought would be helpful to people. And so the first one, and Doug, you and I chatted about this years ago, and you have it was really good, but it's to actually have some prepared songs. So so often as musicians, you're at somebody's house and it's, hey, we got a guitar here. Let's all, play and sing along some songs. And then you can't remember anything that you know. right? So having a list, and Braden, I see you smiling. Does that happen? People say, "Oh, well, play me something," and you're like, "I can't remember anything that I play in this moment."
Well, no, my problem is like Jen calls me the 30-second guitar player because I know 30 seconds of every song because I don't. I'm a broken record on it, but I have a hard time playing other people's songs and covers. Like I find it very boring and redundant. The only time I really go into it is one if it's I truly like it, or I just need to find a new chord or learn a new chord. But sitting there going playing other people's songs, I find that ridiculous. But playing your own when nobody knows it around the fire, everyone's like, "Wow, what is this?" You know.
Not
So
exactly the best time to be pulling out
yeah,
original material.
yeah,
And I saw Doug laughing there when you said Jen calls you the 30-second guitar player, because I think a
yeah.
lot of people suffer from that because we learn the cool parts of a ton of songs and then that's it. That's great. So having like 10 songs that you can actually play through if you're in that kind of campfire situation is really, really good for people. And your focus at a campfire is far different than a gig. Your focus at a campfire is getting people singing along. It's really not about the 10-minute guitar solos and
Yeah.
all of those kinds of things. So there's number one. Now the next thing, and I think this is going to be really cool for you guys, is the pre-song checklist. Okay, so you're going along, you're jamming with somebody else. So on our checklist is really, really important. We want to know the key. First and foremost of the song is know the key, which is why I've been pushing you guys so hard for that. Does that make some sense? And our next thing is to actually sit where you can see whoever the lead person that's leading the song. Sit where you can see their hands, because sometimes there's so much going on you actually can't hear what they're playing. And when you can see, it's additional information for you. And then the other thing is, once you know the key of the song, then review with yourself knowing which scales are going to work for that. So like, Doug pulled out that song in G and he says, okay, I'm in E. And then Doug might say to himself, well, okay, I'm not exactly sure in this moment where I should solo. So when somebody looks at him and says solo, he'll just politely shake his head no. Right? What else I'm asked? Oh, time signature. That's really, really important too. Typically, you're going to find things that are in 4/4 or 3/4. I mean 6/8, but 4/4 and 3/4 are kind of the main things that you're going to find. So I'm not going to go into great lengths and detail about how to find a time signature, but the basic thing is to, as you're playing, like when somebody starts playing the song, the lead person is, don't start playing right away, right? Just listen, because chances are the song needs to build anyways. So when you're just starting off, start to count along with it. Does 4 work or does 3 work? And it's about the primary beat, the strong beat. Is that on 3 or is that on 4? That's the quick and dirty 101 way to find a time signature. Does that kind of make some sense for you guys?
Yeah, and no. I mean, and like you said, that's the problem is I don't know the names and labels to all this stuff, so I go off the feeling, like whether it's that kind of thing. So
What was that you were just tapping there, Braden?
I want to say it's 3/4 because I'm going 1 and 2, 3, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, you're correct. You were playing it like that with strong, like a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And Doug, how are you at that?
I'm not too bad because most of the campfire songs that we play are pretty, they're some are old fashioned where it's, and it's pretty distinct what it is.
Yeah.
What I suffer more from is the right strumming pattern, because there's nuances to them. It's hard to sit around the fire all night and just play. You want a little bit of character in your strum, right?
That's really fair. That's actually really fair, and we're kind of going into Rockstar 201. That's 301, but that's a great future lesson for us to roll into. And so the one thing I kind of glossed over on all this thing is they don't play right away. People's instincts when they're jamming with other people, especially right off the bat, is they see somebody start playing a song, and the first thing they do is they grab their guitar and start trying to play. If you give them give the lead player 30 seconds, you're going to learn a ton more, and you're going to build the song dynamically. You're going to know a bit about what's coming next. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I'd put that on like, if you actually make a checklist for yourself when you're going into a campfire, that's probably like that should be almost number one as like your self reminder before you go in. Okay, so now the next thing when we're getting to some playing stuff here right away, is if you're not the lead player, you can actually be the dynamics of the song. So typically a song is big choruses, smaller verses, smaller intros, right? Now, when everybody starts playing around the campfire, one guy's playing, and the second guy joins in and does, and pretty soon everything sounds like a chorus, right? So what you want to do if you're the B player or the person that's not leading the song is almost play nothing in the verses, like just really hang back. You got your lead guy doing his thing and you're doing, and then when it comes into the chorus, then match and go whole hog. Does that kind of make some sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, and joining for choruses, just making sure I'm following all. I actually made notes for this. Doug is going to be never do that. Solos around the campfire. Really, honestly, if I'm not playing with professional musicians, I almost never solo around the campfire because you never get heard. You just look like a guy that's making rock and roll faces and nobody ever hears it. That's what happens.
Exactly.
If you're playing along with somebody and they're doing a solo, back off your volume because a guitar, especially if you're like 2 or 3 guitar players, a guitar is at its loudest when you're strumming chords. And technically, the solo needs to be the loudest. So if somebody looks at me and says, "Yeah, do a solo," and then they don't quiet down, I just make it a real short one. Because it's all about the vibe and having friends and all that kind of. But really, that's like the courtesy thing to do that people don't think about. Especially if you're just learning to play along around the campfire.
Yeah.
People are kind of panicking. Does that make some sense, Doug?
Yeah, totally. And I'm also trying to figure out a little bit of maybe some other things I could play with that person. And that might be Campfire Rockstar 301 as well. But instead of just playing the same, would be to play, or just find the chord on a different spot on the neck.
That you're getting ahead of me. Those are in my next points, and we're going to do some of that. Nicely done. Okay, so I have before that, though, actually, we're going to jump to that, Doug, because you brought it up, so we're doing it. Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, so this is what we call chord voicings, okay? So you're playing along with somebody else. The lead player, or the person that's leading the song that actually knows the song, is playing C. That's what our lead person is doing. There's a couple of really easy things to do. Rock it out. Do you know how to play those 3?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, I to this day still struggle with going from G to that change. It's never, can't get it fluid ever.
It's a tough one. When you get, if you start working on F, it's probably going to make your C a whole lot better.
Well, and I have been with the. Anyways, keep going.
That's all.
Unless you play F like I do, Braden, and then it helps you nothing. Because I go from G to F on a bar chord and then to C.
No, and you're right. Like, we've been learning this cult song, and when you watch it on YouTube, the lazy way is doing the bar chord, but when you actually try to play the proper chord, like, it just brings that song out when you're letting it ring out, and but it's so easy. I get you to go there.
I've played for 30 some years, self-taught. I went and started going to see Paul, And I didn't even know how to play F I guess the real way. I still super struggle to fit all my fingers into
Oh,
both places.
I
Just
can
wanted
fit
to,
it, but it's to change it from when you're.
yeah.
Oh,
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna, and in Doug's defense, Doug is actually not doing just a barred chord. He was or sorry, just a power chord. He was doing the full barred chord, and found that easier than just playing the open F chord. And so that's pretty awesome, Doug. So I didn't have a whole lot of complaints with you with that. So, but here's the simple. There's a lot of complicated chord voicing things you can do. But if you got somebody playing G, C, and D, you can literally, and even with an acoustic guitar, move your hand up 12 frets. So play your G up here, and this is going to give you something like if you're in a verse and you can do something different than the other guy, leave the notes open that are open. Whoops. It's way harder to play guitar when you're watching yourself in a camera than you're just looking at yourself.
not to mention when you got big sausage fingers. Would you move up to the 12th?
So what I did is if you were playing a G chord, your first finger would 15th fret. Your middle finger, sorry, on the 15th fret. Pretty cool. Pretty cool, hey?
That's pretty cool.
And it doesn't require anything else, a little bit of a weird hand position, but all your open chords are going to work there just fine. So, you're playing a verse and you're wanting to kind of hang back from everybody else so that you can bring some dynamics to the song, And then you come into the chorus and just join the lead player. And you're happening. Now, if you know the names of the notes on your guitar, Doug actually alluded to this right away, is just play barred chords instead because they have a different voicing. So even, if you're playing a G chord and a G barred chord, they sound a little bit different and things will sound a little bit thicker. But preferably, if you roll up an octave to your, where your first finger is on your 10th fret, you can't really see that here, and play a G here, and then C, G, and then D. Does that kind of make some sense?
Yeah.
That would require some practice just to be fast enough to know the 10th fret,
But that's also some of your pre-song checklist. You can also say, okay, where are the other voicings? If you got time to work on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that make sense? And the other thing is, after you do enough of it, you start to find out where G is really quick up there. And these are things that you can use in more than one song, right? Like this is stuff you can be using all night long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just see here. So those were kind of the two big things on chord voicings, and that can go a lot deeper, but that's a lot right there. That's because all of this is about helping build the dynamic for the song. And then the other tip that I have is most people, when they learn, I'm on close cam, look at me go. When most people are learning a song, they pull up the lyric and chord sheet, which I think is probably one of the worst ways that, especially somebody that's not getting some formal training, can actually learn a song because typically they don't really show you exactly where to change. So a proper lead sheet, Doug, you know what those are, I'm assuming, right?
Don't assume anything.
That's fair. That's totally fair. I'm just going to give you guys a real quick and dirty example here. They're a little bit more work to do, but they're totally worth it. And this is Nashville players use these. They're pretty simple to do. Um, if you, okay, so let's say we're going G. I'm gonna make this a lot bigger. So we're gonna go like, oh, okay. Don't know why that didn't go bigger, but that's okay. So we got G, and then we're gonna go to our next chord, which is C. What this starts to do, I'm gonna do this real quick and dirty. And then back to G. Whoa, yikes. All right. Love technology sometimes. And then D. And there we are. Okay. So what this tells you is that you are, as compared to a lyric sheet, this tells you that you are playing G for one bar and one bar only, right? Tells you that
Right.
you're playing C for one bar and one bar only. Because sometimes in a song, so you have that, and then you can also, you can write the lyrics over top of it or underneath of it. So a lead sheet really is the chord progression with the lyrics. That's all it is. Now, some use some people don't use the lyric portion on it, and that's totally fine. So, but the reason why you want this is because when you're going through and you're looking back at all your stuff here around the campfire, you can get really easily confused if you see, a G and a C really close together, but a note was held really long in the vocal line. You don't know if it was 3 bars, 4 bars, or 1 bar, or a half a bar, but a lead sheet will actually give you that information. Does that make some sense?
It does, but like for my thing is I have to know what's the name of that chord I'm playing, like where to go.
That's
So
totally, that's totally. And so, does the explanation of what a sheet is, does that make sense to you? Oh, I think I missed Doug there.
No, I'm here. I'm still here.
Yeah. Does that make sense as to what a lead sheet is, which is basically a chord progression with lyrics?
Yeah, I just didn't know that's what they were called actually.
Yeah.
Now,
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think Braden's going to control kids like every parent on earth is trying to do right now.
I think you're right.
I was doing a other live stream with business guys before this, and one of the guys was trying to get downstairs to Zoom, and he basically had a child on each leg as he was trying to get down. Okay, so then we're using our proper lead sheet. We have our chord voicings, and then the other thing that I wanted to do, and this you can use a fair bit, it is walking notes between chords. So if you're playing our simple G, C, D chord progression, let's say we're doing 2 bars of each. So we're doing G, and I'll go slow. I'll go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Nice and simple. I did 2 bars of G, 1 of C, and 1 of G. Does that make some sense?
Yeah.
What we can start to do, and these are really cool, especially in like country stuff and a lot of folk stuff, is where you do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Does that make some sense to both of you guys about what I'm going to show you how to do? Not that you know how to do it yet.
no, absolutely. The walking notes that adds so much to any song you're playing.
So here's the caveat. Here's the caveat on walking notes. If you're the only guy doing it, you can pretty well do whatever you want. And it's going to work a fair bit. And there's often times where I'm jamming and I do it once from chord to chord and I'm like, I don't like how that felt. Then I don't do them the rest of the song, right? So the deal is, if we go back to our lead sheet, I'm going to pull up here. Let's say this is another bar of G, and then this is our bar of C. Okay, man. Is typically you're going to play you're going to play this full bar of G, and then your walk up is going to happen during the second one at some point. It might start on beat 1, but it also could start, the two common places would be halfway through. Okay. Are you both with me on the concept so far?
Yes.
Doug, is that making sense to you?
Yeah.
I'm trying to not go down a rabbit hole that I cannot crawl out of. So here's what I'm going to do. So in this simple example, we did G. We did 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So without almost without fail, you can use the root note of the root note of the chord that you're already on. So we're on G. And the walk up can start on the chord that we're already on. And then chromatically, and chromatically means just in a row or all the notes before it, 3 notes before the chord you're trying to get to the next time. And that gives us our 4 beats. So from G to C, I'm going to go on close cam here, and I'm going to try not to see this camera view. So G to C, beat 1 would be G, and then we need 4 notes because we have a 4-beat bar. Open 5th string, this is beat 3, this is beat 4, and then we get to our C chord. So it'd be 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, and then we're into C. That making some sense to you? You think you could pull that off? Could you play what I just played there?
Who, me?
Yeah. Excuse me, I'm going to stop you there for a second, Braden. The big trick with this is that, going back to our sheet music here, is that you actually have to, most people, when they start trying to do these walks, here's what they run into trouble with. Excuse me, I'm just clearing my throat. I'm not sick. Is that they play this bar, and then they play this bar, and then they start their walk. Okay? But the idea is that you want to play this bar, and then you replace this bar right here with the walk. Okay? And so Braden, when you were going into it, that's exactly what you did. Was you played 2 bars, actually you played about 4 bars, and then you started the walk. What you have to do is replace your last bar with the walk. Does that make some sense? So Doug, can you give us a shot going like with our 2 bars of G and see if you can do a walk to C?
Sure, I'll give it a shot.
Can you try that one more time?
Sure.
Cool. Okay. So this is good because both of you guys had a similar problem. Doug, you here's what you did. I'm going to go back to our sheet music, and this takes a little bit of practice. Like it's something that you can.
Feels horribly awkward.
Yeah, and you can do it along with a song, because if you change chords at the wrong time, the song will tell you, right? Like if you end up or too late, you're gonna know. But here's the deal. So Doug, you played this, and you were playing 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you started the walk at the right time, but you played it twice as fast. So you played the 4 notes over 2 beats instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then da 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 da. What you did is you did. So you did 1, 2, 3, 4, da da da. So you did it over 2 beats, right? So that's the trick. That's the big trick, is knowing that you're either replacing the full bar or the half bar, and the way to know that you were successful is that you land on C at the right time.
So I could do it my way. It's just it's a faster walk up. That's
Yeah.
probably why it feels funny to me. I needed to play two more beats of that 4 to get to.
That totally works, Doug. You'd be able to play, the 4 beats of G, then 2 more of G, and then do the walk up you did. You'd have been golden.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's a pretty good kind of amount of information going to do it. It's going to take some practice and take a little bit of work, but I think those are some really usable tips that you guys are going to be able to rock and roll and do some fun things with. And I see Doug going right away to the playing at the 12th fret higher, which is great. If,
Yeah.
1 or 2 tips that are like making you a little stronger around the campfire, I love it. That's exactly what this is here for. And I had some really lovely personal texts from people time from this live stream. And I'm just going to double and comments are a little bit messed up still. So I'm going to see if I got anything going on. And like I did last time, if I missed your questions, I will go and check all of the feeds and answer things after the stream. And let's just see what I got going on here. So yeah, it looks like my feed is not working for questions. So I will go through, like I said, and look for that. And thank you, Doug, and thank you, Braden.
Thank you.
Is rocking this out for me and helping out some other people, because other people get to see, oh, these guys have the same questions that I do. And that's really crazy valuable and something fun we get to do during this time when we're all at home.
Good. You bet.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm going to queue up my outro so that I have enough time to turn things off as we go. And I very much appreciate your time. And I look forward to seeing both of you next Monday.
All right. Sounds good.
See you guys.
Bye.